January 1st, the janitor's boots echoed softly through the cold, dim corridors of the Westbrook State Prison. Jack Miller had been working there for nearly 3 years, quietly mopping floors and fixing broken lights. Most guards barely noticed him. To them, he was just another middle-aged man trying to make ends meet. His gray hair and weathered face made him look older than he was. He never talked much, never raised his voice, and never reacted when inmates threw insults his way. They saw weakness where there was discipline, calmness mistaken for fear. But deep inside, Jack carried memories that could break a soldier's spirit. Every morning, he woke before dawn, brewed cheap coffee, and drove his old pickup truck to the prison. It wasn't the job he wanted, but it was the one that paid the bills for his daughter, Emily. She was 16, smart, and full of dreams. After losing his wife in a car accident, Jack's only goal was to keep life steady for Emily. Working as a janitor gave him time to avoid attention, but also time to think. Sometimes, when he scrubbed blood off a wall or cleaned the cells after a fight, flashes of his past missions haunted him: dusty deserts, silent kills, and fallen brothers. One afternoon, while cleaning the laundry room, Jack noticed 4 inmates watching him closely. They were part of a gang that ruled the prison's black market. Their leader, a tall man with tattoos creeping up his neck, grinned with cruel amusement. "Hey, old man," he called out. "You missed a spot." The others laughed, tossing dirty clothes toward him. Jack didn't respond. He just kept mopping, steady and calm. That silence angered them even more. The leader walked up, grabbed Jack's mop, and threw it across the room. "You deaf or just stupid?" he sneered. The janitor's eyes slowly met his, of calm, cold, and unreadable. Suddenly, the tension snapped. One of the gang members swung a knife at Jack's shoulder. What happened next stunned everyone. Jack moved faster than any of them could track. He twisted the attacker's arm, sending the knife clattering to the floor. In one smooth motion, he kicked another man's leg, breaking it instantly. The room filled with shouts and confusion as Jack's body moved like a machine programmed for survival. Within 10 seconds, all 4 gang members were on the ground, groaning in pain. The guards rushed in, weapons drawn, but froze when they saw what had happened. Jack stood still, breathing evenly, eyes distant, as if he had just returned from another world. The warden later asked how he managed it, but Jack said nothing. The truth was locked behind classified files and years of silence. Before becoming a janitor, Jack Miller had served 20 years in the U.S. Army's most elite Special Operations Unit, Delta Force. He had fought in places the world would never hear about, saved lives that never knew his name, and lost brothers in missions that never existed. And now, in a forgotten corner of a prison, the legend had awakened once again. The fight in the laundry room spread through Westbrook Prison faster than wildfire. Every inmate had a different version of what happened, but all agreed on one thing: the quiet janitor had taken down 4 armed gang members like it was nothing. The guards whispered too, wondering how a man in his 50s could move with the precision of a trained killer. For the first time, prisoners who used to mock Jack now stepped aside when he passed. Some nodded in silent respect, others avoided eye contact entirely. Jack didn't like the attention. He had spent years trying to bury that part of himself, the soldier who once lived for combat. The next morning, the warden called Jack into his office. "You want to tell me what really happened?" the warden asked, leaning back in his chair. Jack simply replied, "Self-defense." The warden studied him, seeing something in his calm demeanor that didn't match his janitor's uniform. "You're not just some old man with a mop," he said quietly. Jack didn't respond. He wasn't here to impress anyone or relive the past. After a long pause, the warden sighed and said, "You did what you had to do. Just try not to kill anyone next time." Jack nodded and left without another word. Later that evening in the cafeteria, a young inmate named Rico approached Jack. He was new, serving time for a minor offense, and had seen the fight from afar. "Sir, were you really Delta Force?" Rico asked nervously. Jack froze for a moment. That name hadn't been spoken to him in years. He looked at the boy and said softly, "A long time ago." Rico smiled faintly. My brother's in the army. He says Delta guys are ghosts, heroes nobody talks about. Jack gave a tired half-smile. Then your brother knows the truth. Real heroes don't talk about what they do. Word of Jack's past spread even faster after that. The prison guards began treating him differently, some with admiration, others with unease. The gang members who had attacked him were transferred to the infirmary and kept silent, too ashamed to admit they were beaten by a janitor. But despite all the whispers, Jack kept to his routine. He showed up early, did his work, and went home to his daughter. At night, he'd sit on the porch with Emily, listening to her talk about college plans. She didn't know the full extent of what her father had done in the military. He preferred it that way. Still, part of him knew the past could never stay buried. Violence had found him again, even when he was trying to live quietly. But unlike before, he didn't feel anger, just a deep, calm resolve. He had protected his daughter, protected his peace, and now, in some strange way, earned back a little of his old self-respect. The world saw a janitor. The inmates saw a warrior. But Emily saw the truth. Her father, a man who had fought wars in silence and still came home every night, determined to give her a life free from the shadows he once lived in.